Welcome to the Disability and podcast, bringing together thoughtful discussion and debate. This month, Mind the Gap's associate producer Paul Wilshaw chats with Ella and Tim Curtis. Ella won a gold medal in cycling at the Berlin 2023 Special Olympic Games. Tim is Ella's coach and also her dad.
Hello and welcome to the Disability and Podcast. Today I am privileged to be interviewing Tim and Ella Curtis. Ella is a gold medalist from 2023 with the World Championships for the Special Olympic team, Great Britain team, and Tim is Ella's coach and also her dad. So, Ella, thank you very much, first of all, for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate it. So can you tell our audience, what are the Special Olympics and the World Championships? And is that different to the Paralympics?
Yes, it's different. Special Olympics are learning disability and by disability.
Okay, so it's for learning disabled people, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, you were part of the Special Olympics GB team. And I saw on the website about you and your journey, which for years it said that you were scared about cycling because you had a fall. And it was thanks to your dad and a Halloween party that got you back on your bike. Can you tell us a bit about that journey?
Well, Adam Tasker invited me and cycling Halloween party. I dressed up as zombie and my dad and me were world one drag round in the park.
Tim, what actually got you into cycling? Because I think that's really interesting about how you've become Ella's coach. So what actually got you into cycling?
Well, my granddad and my dad taught me to cycle when I was a little boy. And I loved cycling. And I've been a road cyclist since I was about 12. So that's when I first got a road bike and learned to ride my bike on the road. I just love the feeling that it gives me.
What do you feel about the lack of acknowledgement of the Special Olympics and World Championships on television compared to the Paralympics?
Well, they showed me on TV. It was amazing.
So it's quite hard for Ella to talk about that, Paul, because she's seen herself a lot on TV.
Okay. See, so that might be a bit of me actually not knowing. I know a bit about the Special Olympics, but I don't know much about it. And I was very fortunate to be told about you, Ella. And I know that you're also a Mind the Gapper. That's how I got to know you as well. But you say, so you've been on telly quite a bit. How has that been for you?
It was good, amazing, and excited. People
recognise you sometimes, don't they, Ella, because they've seen you on the telly?
Yeah.
Do you remember when we came back from Berlin and we were at Heathrow Airport?
Yeah.
And you walked up to the border force officer with your passport?
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said to you? You don't remember?
No.
I remember. He said, I don't need to see your passport. I know who you are. I've seen you on the telly. And he waved you through.
Now, that is cool. That is really cool that happened.
But I should say, Paul, I agree with you. There's not enough. There isn't live coverage of Special Olympics on TV. Paralympics is a different category, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that kind of makes me want to know more about the Special Olympics because I'm like, why shouldn't we be shown on telly? What actually made you want to cycle competitively?
Ooh, I like the medals.
You like the medals. I love that answer. That is like the perfect answer that you could give me. I love it. Oh, that's brilliant. What is your favourite venue or course to cycle in?
I prefer Berlin. Round the Hamburg Gate.
The Brandenburg Gate.
Brandenburg Gate, yeah. I think it's a venue.
Well, it's the main roads
It's
in
a main
Berlin city
road.
centre.
Yeah,
Okay.
So they closed them for us, didn't they, for 2 weeks?
yeah.
Imagine like closing the Mall in London in front of Buckingham Palace, because you didn't just ride past the Brandenburg Gate, Ella, did you? Although you remember that. You rode past the Bundestag, which is the Parliament building in Berlin.
Yeah.
All these amazing places that the roads were closed by, just for you guys.
Now that is amazing. And you won gold and you in the 1K race at the World Championship. And what was that experience like for you, Ella?
I felt happy and excited.
How many people raced in that race?
I think it's 5.
5. So you had 5 people racing against you and you won the gold medal.
Yes.
That is great. And I actually have here, audience, the gold medals I can see the gold medals, and we're going to get a picture with Ella and Tim later on with the gold medal on. So that's great. So this one, Ella, is going to be a bit cheeky. So what is it like that your dad is also your coach on the GB team? And is there any times that you disagree with your dad as a cyclist and coach about how to race?
Well, I love my dad. 'Cause he helps me. Sometimes I go down it wobbling. I don't like it. Wobbling. But my dad made me do it.
And Tim, what's it actually like coaching Ella?
Ella's a pleasure to coach. Obviously, like anybody, Ella finds it hard sometimes doing some things. What she's undertaken, the journey she's been on, is amazing. From not riding, as you already asked about earlier in the interview, to riding three wheels to a bronze medal in Abu Dhabi on the Formula One track, and then teaching yourself to ride 2 wheels in lockdown. I didn't teach you; you taught yourself. So it's Ella's a real pleasure to work with. Of course, like she says, she doesn't like downhill or wobbly bits, so sometimes that causes some fuss, especially if we're on the road riding. But she's also correct. I do
fussing.
Say you're not fussing, but when you do fuss, like she says, that makes me do
I
it.
go quite.
It's safer to get our job done, isn't it, Ella? It's safer to finish what we've started.
Right, yeah, that's great, and you can tell, right, that is just beautiful. What was your favourite memories of last year's championship?
I love my friends. In my team are my coaches.
And your coaches?
Yeah.
Do you think the Special Olympics and World Championships will ever get on the same level as the Paralympics in terms of acknowledgement from the public?
I don't know.
You don't know? Perfectly good answer there. I hope it does, because I think, why shouldn't it? But, yeah, I think the Channel 4 and the BBC need to get their eyes up, because we have some real good championships in that team. And I think the BBC and I always call these people out, so let's get the Special Olympics on the TV, because I want to see more of Ella and I want to see more of the team, and that's one thing we want to see.
Yes.
What are the audiences like at these events, can you tell me?
A small crowd people.
So they're small.
At Berlin, the crowd was bigger than it is when we have our championships in Wyke, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's still not the same size as at Paralympics or Olympics.
No.
But there's quite a lot of people at Berlin.
Yeah.
You had your whole family around the course when you were racing.
Yeah.
They've spread out around the 1 kilometre course cheering you on.
Yay.
Then you couldn't be lazy bones, could you? You had to keep pedalling.
I'm not lazy.
No, you're not. You're a gold medalist.
You're a gold medalist. That's certainly not lazy. Anyone that says that a gold medalist is lazy, there must be wrong. And what are your expectations for the coming year, Ella?
I keep on cycling. I keep on beating the clock. And do a road race.
Do you road race? Tim, we've talked a lot to Ella. Now what I know about you and your journey. How long have you been coaching cycling?
I've been coaching cycling for 10 years, Paul, officially. I qualified in 2014. That was the year the Tour de France came to Yorkshire. I'm a level 2 British cycling coach, but I'm also a Cycling UK group leader, and that means I can coach competitively to an elite level in a level 2 environment, and that means no cars. But my group ride leader role allows me to be insured and to take people and teach them out on the road. So I combine both those qualifications to do the things that I've been doing for the past 10 years. I've been a road cyclist since I was 12, so that's nearly 40 years of riding a bike on the road.
Whoa. I remember my time of when I was at school and we had to do cycling, and yeah, I wasn't very good and I fell off. So
sadly, falling off is part of it, isn't it, Ella? It does
Yeah.
happen to us.
Yeah.
If I didn't have my hat on today, I could show you my scars in my head.
You were a coach for the Special Olympics Great Britain team in 2023. What was that experience like for you, Tim?
Wow,
and do you coach other people as well as Ella?
In terms of do I coach other people for the Special Olympics Great Britain team, yes, not as regularly as I coach Ella. There's in my squad in 2023 there was one other Yorkshire cyclist from Sheffield, but Niall has his own coaching programme that he follows. So my role really is to select people that I know about the level of their cycling and where they're at, and select the appropriate events and races for them to race in, but also to encourage them and keep an oversight of them while they're training where they are based. So that meant I had to go visit everybody where they trained, the guys in the northwest, up to Scotland, down to the southeast, and our Yorkshire cyclists. In terms of what's it like being a head coach of any team at Special Olympics, it's one of the most intense and proud experiences of my whole life. It's intense because I had less than a year to pick that squad. I already know them because I've been in and around Special Olympics cycling for the best part of 10 years. So I've seen them at national competitions. I meet them at least once a year in that regard. But still making sure you pick the right people at the right level, that I pick unlike maybe in Paralympic or Olympic sport category, I pick a range of people with a range of neurodiversity or learning disability, and also a range of ability. So we have ability ranges within the sport. So Ella's at category 3, but you can also compete at category 1. So there are different categories of where you're at in your journey in cycling. So I made sure that I wanted a nice spread. I wanted a mix of male and female cyclists. I had a mix of ages. Our oldest cyclist was 38 and our youngest was 16. Those things are all really important to me and took a long while to develop. And that all started a year out from the actual cycling competition. Then I had to coach them on our own, meeting together at different venues and places, staying together for the weekend, and then also with our joint whole squad team training. And that took up lots of weekends in that year leading up to the competition, because it's really important that they're comfortable and confident to perform at their best level and be with us. And I know I did that because each one of them produced personal bests in Berlin, or they got podium places and medals. And for me, those two things are not different. You can only do the best you can do, and that's what I got out of our cyclists. So I'm really pleased with that impact. Special Olympics is different again to Paralympics and Olympics in terms of being head coach, that it's not just the sport coaching and the event. For 24 hours a day, for 21 days in Berlin, I and my two other coaches had full-time duty of care of those athletes. So that meant looking after everyone from morning to night time and making sure when people got poorly that they were sorted out, making sure they were eating properly, hygiene was taken care of. So there isn't any rest. So by the time I finished and came back from Berlin, I felt very exhausted. It's a really exhausting process. I'm proud because how many people in the world can say they've ever coached their favourite sport at a world championships? And on top of that I coached those cyclists to their best performance, and that one of those 3 gold medalists we had in that squad is my own daughter. It doesn't get any better than that. It was amazing.
Yeah, and I'm interested because with the Special Olympics, it's for learned people and neurodiverse people. It's still great that you have to go to.
So
how does that work?
I think the first thing to say is that every Special Olympic athlete, I should also say as well, with my hat on as a Special Olympics GB coach, that Special Olympics isn't just what Ella does at elite level, going to a World Games and winning a gold medal. Special Olympics activities happen week in, week out in clubs all over the country and all over the world. And just attending those clubs and doing activity counts as being a special. We refer to our participants as Special Olympics athletes. Just even if you've got no ambition to ever go to a World Games, compete at all, just come and train in your sport. That's being a Special Olympic athlete. So you have that level of participation, and then you are nominated or you put yourself forward to be a member of the World Games squad at your chosen sport. That requires, to be a Special Olympics athlete, it requires that a relevant professional or person with experience can vouch for your level of intellectual capability or your level of self-awareness and care, and how that might differ from a typically developing person. Those are the criteria about how you get into Special Olympics. Now, of course, we know that that isn't the same for everybody. You might have a learning disability that's more profound or less profound than somebody else. So within that, then we have categories of competition, and then also on top of that, you might also be born with a physical disability. So that might also affect which kind of category you're placed into for your sport or your performance.
How do you think the Special Olympics and World Championships could get the same acknowledgement as the Paralympics?
Crikey, that is the $21 million question, isn't it? Literally, it's about political will and money. The people in charge, I don't just mean politicians in Westminster, but the people in charge of sport and funding streams in this country need to decide that what Ella does and what all the other athletes do, like I just said, every single day of the week, different clubs up and down the country, are worthy of recognition and resourcing funding. And until that happens, we're not really going to get to the same level playing field as the Paralympics and the Olympics. Special Olympics is a charity, and that already marks it out as different than Paralympics and Special Olympics. The charity status of Special Olympics is something I would like to see change. I would like to see it centrally funded. So Paralympics and Special Olympics are both, as Paralympics and Olympics are both funded by Sport England, Sport Wales, Sport Scotland, Sport Northern Ireland and the National Lottery. And so are their athletes and coaches and their whole programme. Whereas everything we do at Special Olympics, we have to raise money for. Ella and I are wearing some of our Special Olympics branded Great Britain clothing. I won't give the sponsors' names, but they're sponsors. That's one way we have to go round with a begging bowl to get money to afford to get our athletes to go and do something amazing like go and perform in Berlin. So until that changes, I can't see things changing. I have to give praise where it's due, though. Ella did answer her question before about being on TV. They gave Ella and Niall, 2 Yorkshire athletes who both got gold medals in cycling at the Special Olympics, incredible coverage on mainstream BBC, ITV News. I have friends around the world. I had friends from Grenada and from India telling me that they'd seen Ella on the World Service. Ella and I were talking earlier about her being recognised by the passport control officer. So it is obviously it's improving, but we haven't got yet. You can't watch live stream sport like you can at the Paralympics and like you can at the Olympics. However, again, having said all of that, that only really started changing in London 2012 for Paralympics, and up to that point, I think I might be correct in saying it was the Beijing Olympics, which was the first where Paralympians had national lottery funding. But prior to that, they didn't have national lottery funding either. So at some point, we need to get more money into the Special Olympics, and the people in charge of who gets the money and who goes on TV need to decide that these guys are worth it.
Definitely. And you've said about the Paralympics, so I'm going to go to that next question about the Paralympics. Like you said, the Paralympics did bring up so much acknowledgement and understanding about disabled athletes and people in 2012. Do you think a Great Britain Special Olympics would bring better understanding of people with learning disabilities to the general public? And if so, what cities would you like to see host it and have pride in it?
Well, I do. Do you think that we should host the World Games, Ella?
Yeah, I will.
You do? You think we should?
Yeah.
And actually, in the long term, I think that the Special Olympics should happen in the same city and the same country as first of all the Olympics and then the Paralympics. So in the case of this year, that would be Olympics first in Paris, then the Paralympics in Paris, and then the Special Olympics. And the reasons why I think that is because they've already invested massively in the stadiums, the infrastructure, the travel, the transport, the advertising. They've got all the sponsors in place. They've got the TV companies there. So it makes they're pushing an open door to put the championships in those places. It's a very difficult long-term dream for the reason I said to you before, but in the short term, before that happens, I think the Special Olympics could be hosted in the way it's done currently as a separate event to those other two in the UK. Yeah, I definitely do. But while lots of people from around the world would want to come to London and identify with London, I actually feel a different city or combinations of different cities would work best. So Glasgow, Birmingham or Manchester would be amazing. They've both got all three of them have got experience of hosting Commonwealth Games or World Championships in cycling or athletics recently. It just depends whether they can afford to host it.
Yeah.
We're back to my money point from earlier.
And I think that is so much the same around disability arts and sport and stuff. It's such an interesting thing of where money is a major thing and how we respect and really prioritised what is actually good for our society and how we are going to progress and make sure that younger generations are supported in this so that we're not just segregated and things. So,
and if you can't see someone that's like you succeeding and doing something, how can you imagine that or even have that as an ambition? So we know that that's what happens with Ella. We have members of our Saturday cycling club that come because they've seen you on the TV or seen you win medals. Am I right, Ella?
Yeah.
Yeah. And where actually, just on that point, where is your cycling club? So that our listeners who might have a learning disability or might have a disability might want to join. So let's plug that for a sec.
So I mean, we like I said, Special Olympics is something that happens not just at big elite competitions, but it's week in, week out clubs. I'm a co-director of a community interest company called Summit Creative, and we run our Saturday wheels on Saturday, Ella.
Yes, Saturday.
Can you remember what time?
I think it starts at 2:30.
It does, and it goes on for how long?
1 hour.
Yeah, and where does that happen, Ella? Can you remember? You might not.
I don't know.
You don't know. It happens at Wyke Sports Village at the Wyke Cycle Circuit, which is in South Bradford. If people listening are interested and would like to go, the best way would be to contact my co-director, Lucy, at Summit Creative. It's summitcreative@gmail.com.
Cool.
Or you can find Summit Creative on Facebook or Instagram, or Lucy's phone number is 07 547 799 826. Paul, I would say if enough Mind the Gap members wanted to try cycling, it's possible that we at Summit Creative could bring cycles to the mill,
Yeah.
but the implications of that would be it might cost some money, and we might need to fundraise to make that happen.
Well, let's think about that in the future. So I've got questions for you both now, and this one is: how would you both encourage other disabled people who might be nervous or either learning to cycle, have given up, but want to start again? How would you encourage them to do that, Ella?
Um,
Could they come somewhere, Ella? If people wanted to try cycling and they were worried, they wanted to try a trike or see what it's like to ride a bike again, could they try cycling?
I try cycling.
Where could they try it? Where could they come?
Cycling wheel.
Saturday cycling wheels, yeah. Come
Cool.
to Saturday wheels. It's
Yeah.
probably the best way I could encourage people to come along. But we do have a high staff to participant ratio at Saturday wheels, and most of the athletes there they're being coached. They're not coming to have a go cycling. They're trying to improve their cycling wherever they are, whatever level they're at. Which is why we try and encourage people to contact us first, so we can make sure we can look after you, or we've got the right cycle there for you, or it's ready, or whatever. Because if you need a hand crank, for example, we have them, but we'd have to make sure it was up and ready for you before you got there.
I want to know what cyclist inspires you. So, yeah, who inspires you to cycle? Like, is there any famous cyclist?
Are there any of your other GB cyclists that inspire you to cycle, Ella?
Kira Blinder.
Kira Byland.
Byland.
That's right.
And does so she inspires you?
Yeah.
You're on your way to chasing her medals.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can see you challenging. And Tim, who inspires you?
Crikey. I first started watching cycling when it was the Tour de France was on Channel 4 in the 1980s. It's the first time they put it on TV when I was a young lad, when I was a teenager. And so there were two Irish riders then, Stephen Roche and Sean Kelly, that really inspired me. But current cyclists that inspire me, I love Mark Cavendish. I love Lizzie Dynan from Yorkshire, former world champion. I like David Stone, who's a Paralympic tricycle champion. And yeah, Ella Curtis,
Cool.
my cycling inspiration.
Okay, that is great. This is the last question, and it's a personal question because I feel I want to know how you both feel about the word special in terms of disability. I personally don't like it myself, and I'm very honest about that. But I want to know how you both feel about it as part of the Special Olympic team and everything.
So I feel good. That's it.
Fair enough, Ella. And I would say quite carefully, because I'm here as a representative of Special Olympics Great Britain, as well as a representative of Summit Creative and Ella's dad. I would say that, unfortunately, lots of the words we use in Special Olympics, they're American. Special Olympics is the brand name of the third Olympic movement, and it's over 55 years old. And although words have changed their meaning in that 55 years, the organisation name hasn't changed. It's actually older than the Paralympic movement, and it was started by Eunice Kennedy Shriver, who's a member of the famous American Kennedy family. So it's kind of stuck. That's what the reasoning is behind that name. Another American term we use widely in Special Olympics is intellectual disability, where I would say, and we would say in the UK, learning disability and neurodiversity. And much as I have my own personal opinion about it, I have to use that terminology sometimes when I'm filling in official paperwork. I don't make those rules. I would like to change them, but they're not my rules.
No, and we totally get that, and I think it's really interesting, like terminology. We're having the same talks and conversations around that in the arts as you guys are probably having in sport as well, and I think that's where sport and art come together. Terminology is always changing. We need to see more of our generations coming up in the sports as well as in the arts. We need to see more gold medalists, and we need to have more representation on our arts, in our sports, in everyday life, because we're here. We are here. We are to be seen, and we're certainly, in case with Ella, it's certainly going to be heard. So it's been an absolute pleasure to interview you both today. I'm really grateful that you've come in.
And can we finish with one last thank you?
Yeah.
Without you've interviewed me about how I help Ella, but Ella's family have been really important in helping her journey. So when she went to Berlin, she had 2 sets of grandparents there. She had her sister there. She had her PA, Katie, and Katie's boyfriend. They came all out to Germany to come and support her. And 4 years ago, when she'd raced in Abu Dhabi on the Formula 1 track, she had even more family members come and support her at that event. So my message would be, if you want to do arts, come to Mind the Gap, come and join our Summit Creative Artistic Activities. If you want to do sport and you want to do cycling, come along and join us on a Saturday afternoon. But if you can get help from family and friends, that's a really important thing to help you pursue your dreams, your goals. And you could join in every week and have fun and learn and make new friends and learn new skills. You could go to a World Games. You could perform on the stage at Edinburgh Fringe.
Yep, and you could be the next Ella.
Could be the next Ella or the next Paul.
Or the next Paul. Or the next Tim. Why shouldn't we also have you?
I would love to have a learning disabled coach as part of my coaching squad. That would be amazing.
So thank you very much, Tim and Ella. And please listen to the next podcast by Disability Arts Online. Take care, everyone.
Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We do hope you've enjoyed this episode of Disability And. Further episodes of Disability And can be found at www.disabilityarts.online.